Team HR, this is Kojo, Van-Ess, one of your colleagues. I'm with Bank of Africa. I'm the head of Service Excellence, and I'm the country coordinator for sustainability development. This evening we are going to have a brief discussion on how to bring sustainability into our role as human resource managers. I'm hoping it becomes a 10 minutes or not more discussion because it's a new arena and I wouldn't want to bore you with too much information. So let's start and try to understand what we mean by sustainable development. Now, sustainability in its general term basically speaks about doing things that will get you to be in business consistently for a very long period of time. And so when you want to bring that into the business sector, I'm trying to explain this as practicable as possible. Bringing this into business, what it means is that doing things that would make you continue to exist for a long time. We make a lot of mistake assuming corporate social responsibility to be sustainable development, and so I would want to draw the distinction a bit at the beginning so when you're going ahead we would know the difference. Now when we talk about corporate social responsibility, basically corporate social responsibility are things that you do to support society but not necessarily to ensure that you, the business, you continue to be in existence. So for instance, when you make a donation to some flood victims, that's a corporate social responsibility. But that in no way contributes to your bottom line. If you hear there is some poverty issue in some part of the country, in some community, and you decide to want to go donate slightly used clothes or go give them food, that's corporate social responsibility. But that does not fall within the domain of sustainable development. Of course, it's an aspect of sustainable development, but in its entirety, sustainable development is way bigger and larger than corporate social responsibility. And so basically, you can explain sustainability to mean that bit of the business outside the usual financial scope that contributes to the bottom line. And so we can talk about what we call the triple bottom line, when we talk about how finances contribute to the bottom line, when we talk about how your social reactions or your social actions contribute to the bottom line, and when we talk about how your environmental actions contribute to the bottom line. Now, as HR people, our discussion would more be on human resource and not worry about the environment or the other bits. You can talk about, in a bank, for instance, we can talk about how ethically we lend, the kind of businesses we procure services from to see whether it will help the economy grow. We can talk about how much carbon emission or how much carbon dioxide we emit within every period, how much water we use, how much electricity, but those ones have to do with the environment and social. So for HR, let's speak strictly to HR. And because I'm going to speak to figures and actuals, I'll be referring to my laptop in between, so you would see my eye move away from the camera, but permit me, just so we understand. Okay, and so basically when we are speaking to sustainable development when it comes to HR, our key objective is trying to be a responsible employer. And so we try to see things that we will do as employers that would make sure that we will continue to be in business, will continue to be the desire of people outside, will continue to be the employer of choice to applicants or to people who are within the recruitment pool or people who would want to work in a particular industry. Doing things that would make you always want to attract the right kind of people to come work with you because of your actions, your ethical beliefs, your values, and all of that. So that's what we are going to speak to as sustainable development within HR. Okay. So first, I'll try to speak to certain things that we can do. Maybe let me just call them my 6 pointers of what you can do as an HR to be seen as somebody who is supporting the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, in your circle as a human resource manager. So first, you can look at promoting diversity and equal working opportunities or employment opportunities for people. Now, when we talk about diversity, what we are talking about is within your work environment. When I come there and I decide to start striking proportions of the ethnic balance in your institution, how many people from the southern part would you find in your work staff, your staff strength? How many people in the northern sector would we find in your staff strength? How many Ashantis, how many Gans, how many Evers, how many people from the northern region, the upper east, upper west? Pardon me, now they are about 16 or 17, so it gets confusing. We are used to the normal 10. Yes, but so basically, how many people are represented within your staff strength? Is it that your staff is skewed towards a particular tribe? If it's skewed toward a particular tribe, then what it means is for you to say that you are somebody who thinks sustainability minded or who is sustainable minded. What you would have to do is you need to put in place strategies to get other people with the right expertise but come from a certain ethnic group to be able to balance your workforce. And so there's supposed to be a deliberate affirmative action to get some people. So you would come across as an employer who is not only Gan-minded, an employer who only is ever-minded, but then an employer who accepts every single person that is qualified to work within the environment or within the company. I'm sure you would have noticed that there are lots of companies where you go in and they can say that, oh, this company, if you are a Fanti or if you are a Gan, you can easily be promoted. If you are an Ever, you can easily be promoted. If you are from this tribe, forget about promotion. It's basically because that company has built a certain impression in people's mind. And so people out there who would even want to come and work there might not come because they assume that, okay, because I am a Fanti and these people have been seen as an Ever company or a Gan company, you can't survive in there, they will push you out. And so what it means is if there's an Ever who is technically competent, he or she would not want to come and work there because he or she will feel victimized. And so it's important that as an institution, as a responsible employer, you try to diversify the homogeneity of your staff with regards to religion, ethnic backgrounds, with regards to even the kind of schools they attend. If you have an institution where you have only boys, where people went to boys' school, I mean, you should know how the place is going to be. If you have people who only went to mixed school, you know how the place is going to be. But having the right mixture, and it has to be a deliberate effort when you are recruiting. At a certain point, it might not really matter, but when it gets to a certain point when you are recruiting, you need to have indicators on your rating sheet to make special effort for people from a certain ethnic group, a certain religion, a certain school type, so you can be able to balance the diversity situation at your institution. Aside diversity, what else can we talk about? We can talk about, as a responsible employer, how well do you do to bridge skill gaps within your institution? It's not just okay to recruit people and pay them. It's trends keep changing every day. New technology keeps coming every day. New and better ways of doing things keep coming every day. And so as an employer, what are you doing as an employer to upgrade the skills of your staff, to make them become competitive, to make them be able to chase the trend, to make them be able to become innovative and give you a competitive advantage over your competitors? So there are some institutions, I might not mention names, but there are some institutions that when you mention their names, people would say that, yeah, this institution, when you go there, they will train you. And so most young people who come out of school are rushing to go there because they feel, for the next 3-4 years of my career, I need training to be competent. I need training to be able to be called an expert. And so that's the niche they've created for themselves. And so as a responsible employer, what are you doing to bridge the gap? Is it that when you realize that people are not doing well, like some football teams we know, we just have to ship you out because you are not doing well, or we make efforts to want to bring you up to speed until you realize that you cannot do it any longer. So that's basically what we mean when it comes to trying to bridge the gap. As a responsible employer, what is it that you're doing to help your staff to be able to compete with modern trends? You can also look at occupational hazards, work health and safety issues. How safe is your work environment? What things are you putting in place? So for instance, if I want to give me a minute, so I can decide to want to look at, say, for health and safety, what preventive policies have you put in place to cater for health and safety? What procedures have you put in place to cater for health and safety? As the HR, do you have first aid at your first aid box at your workplace? Have you signed your staff on to any medical insurance? Or when they go to the hospital for themselves and they pay, have you put in measures to be able to reimburse them? How well are you prepared to get your staff to be fit for work? And so have you ensured that within your workspace or your work environment there are enough fire extinguishers, there are enough escape routes in case there's a fire outbreak or there's some disaster? Is everybody aware of where they are supposed to assemble when there's an issue? What else can I speak about? How well have you made provision for people with disabilities at your place? Do you have a disabled or disability friendly environment? Do they have easy access? When they are supposed to use elevators, how easy do you go in there? If you are using staircase, how have you provided for them to be able to come to the office and work and feel like they belong there? Such that if somebody is using a wheelchair, he would not say that I can't work here because they are not making provisions for me. But everybody out there who is qualified will feel like this institution has space, has made it possible, or has made vacancies, or has made provisions for us to be able to be employed with them or work with them. What kind of measures or remedies have you put in place for people who are visibly impaired? What kind of lighting system are you using with regards to your computers? How does it affect their sight? People who do you use brailles within your work environment? So somebody who is competent can do the job but he's blind. How are you going to accommodate him as an employer into your business such that the person can use brailles to do the work and give you the results? Or you do not totally cater for them, you do not care for them. How are you going to accommodate them within your workspace? When you are doing, let's say, hold on, let me just check for a minute. One more thing. There's one key thing I wanted to include. Yeah. So and all these things that you have decided to do, is it a policy that is only known by HR, or it's a policy that everybody knows? Is it displayed somewhere that everybody can actually attest to and say that, okay, when it comes to my company, this is our policy on health and safety. When it comes to my company, this is how we treat disabled people or people with disabilities. When it comes to my company, this is how we treat people who are visually impaired. When it comes to my company, this is how we treat when somebody falls victim to an accident. This is how the person will be treated. Is there a known policy displayed and known by all, or it's something that is kept only by and for HR? Do you have a committee in charge of health and safety? How often do you do regular health and safety checks? How often do you do first aid training? Do you have first aid agents or first aid attendants or first aid champions or first aid, whatever name you give to them, in various departments? Or when somebody falls and needs CPR, would have to rush to HR and come and call that one HR person who has been trained. How well are people across the company informed on how to give first aid when there's a fire outbreak? Do we all have to wait for fire service to come, or there are steps that everybody knows that we are supposed to do to protect ourselves and valuable property if need be? When staff have medical or psychological problems, is there an available clinical psychologist or an industrial psychologist available where everybody can go to and speak to them and know that their issues are confidential, are being kept, or there are issues that nobody cares about? I mean, it's your problem. I pay you at the end of the month. When you have a problem, in some countries you call it the shrink. Go look for your own shrink and pay them. Or there are means and measures that have been put in place to cater for these things. Is it part of the medical insurance that we have signed for our staff? Can they go see psychologists? Can they go see somebody just to speak to them for counseling? All these things need to be considered as a responsible employer. We can also look at so far we're talking about diversity. We can also look at being able to adjust for changes and all that. So I've worked in places where at the beginning of the year we signed key performance indicators. Halfway through the year, things change, strategies change, objectives change, but we keep one KPI. And so at the end of the year now we are assessing somebody and the person has done things that on the KPI does not exist. But the KPI, you understand, is a contract between you and I. Now within this year, these are the things we agree that you should do, and this is how I'm going to end up measuring you. And so along the way, if it changes, it's important that as a responsible employer, you ensure that all line managers go back to revise and bring you a new KPI. It's not okay to say that, oh, the line managers should know. You are a responsible employer. Once you know that strategies have changed, once you know that financial targets have changed, it's come to your attention. And there's a reason why HR has to be part of those that sit on decision-making table. Because when you leave it to them, they would not tell you. It would only get to end of year when you are doing your consistency check or you are doing your appraisal, then you start getting grievance reports that, but along the way the thing changed and nothing happened. So it's important as a responsible employer, when things change, how do you bring it to bear on people's performance management process? How do you get their KPIs changed? How do you get their KPIs revised? Again, people come with expectations as an employer. How do you keep the expectations of the individuals and the expectations of the company to come into agreement? I work in the credit department. I work in the finance department. My expectation is that I want to finish working in HR. How do you get this person to have a feel of HR whilst the HR department does not have any vacancy? As a matter of fact, probably you've done your job analysis and realize that they are even overstaffed. How do you end up being able to put this together? As a responsible employer, do you think about job rotations? Is it that you are going to find a way to let people do extracurricular in some departments? How do you bring this into place so people feel enriched in the job that they do, but not necessarily because they are working for a salary and at every point in time they are looking at their clock for 5 o'clock to knock so they can go home? How are we adjusting for changes? Maybe I'll just touch on 2 other things. Collective bargaining agreement, unionization. How prepared are HRs to accept people to belong to any association that they want? I know there are a lot of institutions who do not encourage unions. If you do not encourage unions, even though it is against the Labour Act, what it means when the people want to form unions, you cannot outrightly tell them that, hey, you can't be unionized. But if that is your stand as an institution, as long as nobody has taken you to a Labour Commission, you've not faced any charges or any suits yet, thank God for your life. But in the interim, what are some of the things that you are doing to even make it become not an incentive for people to be unionized? How often are you doing salary increments? How often are you getting people change in roles to fill other? How often are you promoting people? How open are your doors for people to walk up to you and report any manager who's abused them or any colleague who's abusing them? How prepared or how much do you use grapevine information? How what else can I say? what is the procedure for managing conflicts in your institution? All the things that would want people to naturally want to form union. If you say you don't want them to be unionized, how prepared are you as an employer to make things that flexible where being in a union rather be a disincentive? How prepared are you as an employer? The bottom line is that they want to see you as a responsible employer. So how are you putting things in place for you to be seen as a responsible employer? Can people freely communicate to each other without feeling like they will be victimized? Can I walk to my manager's office and go and ask for him to explain to me why he's asking me to do A, B, and C without feeling that at the end of the day my promotion will be withheld? Am I working in an institution where I feel like I belong? Those are the things that we are expected to do when it comes to our commitment to freedom of association, our commitment to right to bargain collectively and all that. How do people feel? Do you have a policy that says that every year salary will increase maybe by the minimum wage? No, maybe not. By inflation, where we have a cost of living allowance COLA. Every year you are having COLA. Or you at your own free will you decide to increase salaries. Is there a policy that says every 2 years all people who perform within a certain bracket, if you score this rate in your performance rating, you would be promoted after every 2 years? Is there a policy like that? Or after every 3 years we will promote you? Or you cannot be promoted once you are working within a certain job grade? So when you are a cashier, or maybe when you are a finance officer, the maximum you can be is maybe a grade 3. If you want to be a grade 4, you need to go write this exam, and be able to go. Are they spelled out to the knowledge of everybody? Or it's with you, when the manager is happy, then he decides to promote one person? These are some of the things that you would need to show for a responsible employer. Then the final one I would want to touch on has to do with things that has to do with morality and ethics. So basically, how do you manage sexual harassment in your institution? When people report that they are being sexually harassed, how do you manage it? How do you have policies in place to let people know how to even report sexual harassment without they themselves feeling that they will be victimized? Without letting everybody in the company know that, oh, this person was the person who was being victimized and this was the person who was victimizing him or her. And so it's important when you have people working with you who if you have let's say a multinational institution where you have people of different backgrounds who come with different understanding of sexuality. So some people come and they are bisexual, some people come and they are transgender and all that. How well does your environment accommodate these people as a responsible employer? Are you going to say that because you have this, I'm not going to work with you? Or you are going to work and respect everybody's belief system and make sure that one person's belief system does not infringe upon another person? These are some of the things that you would have to look at if you want to be seen as a responsible employer who is supporting the sustainable development. It can be a very long discussion if you wanted, but at this point I'll leave for questions to be asked. Like I said initially, this is a new area. It's something that has already existed, but now in the banking sector, for instance, there are moves now for banks to start reporting as part of their financial reports every quarter and at the end of the year on how they are contributing to sustainable development. And so now we are not going to only report on financials, we are going to report on our social responsibility and also on our environmental responsibility. And it's catching up gradually. The financial sector is starting, before you realize it is going to other places. Now there are some institutions outside that if you even need donor support, they would want you to give them information on how well you are contributing to sustainability of society. So fellow HR directors, it's something new that is coming. In the next 3, 4, 5 years tops, it will be a new thing and everybody will be chasing after it. My candid advice would be, it would be best if you can start looking into that area, so when the time comes you can also be an expert in it and start speaking to it and start running around and be a consultant and all that in HR and sustainable development. Thank you very much. Now I will take questions. Bye.